This is the fourth video in our series, and it stems off of one of the tasks that we went over in our first episode. Task number 4, emotionally placing the person or the relationships in a new place and moving on with life. Now, this video will be a little bit more pertinent to those of whom whose grief stems from death or loss of a loved one, but the valuable lessons here can help everybody who's grieving. We all want to remember. We all want to be remembered. C.S. Lewis, who's the author of the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe series, he lost his wife to cancer, and afterwards he detailed his feelings in 3 notebooks, which he then turned into a published book called A Grief Observed. On pages 16 and 17, he writes, "I have no photograph of her that's any good. I cannot even see her face distinctly in my imagination, yet the odd face of some stranger in a crowd this morning may come before me in vivid perfection the moment I close my eyes tonight. No doubt, the explanation is simple enough. We have seen the faces of those who know best variously from so many angles and so many lights with so many expressions, waking, sleeping, laughing, crying, eating, talking, thinking, that all the impressions crowd into our memory together and cancel out into a mere blur. But her voice is still vivid. The remembered voice that can turn me at any moment into a whimpering child." We never want to forget the loved ones that leave our lives. We always want to remember the person, the relationship, and the fun times. And in time, the memory fades and it can become difficult to picture them in our own mind. My uncle killed himself and my grandmother died of cancer within a few months of each other many years ago. And I haven't seen them or heard their voices in years, and their memories that are distinguished and emboldened into my brain that I'll never forget. Even if I do forget some of the finer nuances about them, my relationship with them is still here and is with me. They are still in my life. Another way to explain this same reality is, do you remember when you were in middle school and you had some friends that you don't have now? Those people, even though they were your best friends at the time, they're still part of your life, but they may not be the active part of your life right now in your current experience. They are like my deceased grandma and uncle pretty much, because they're still part of me, but they're not with me right now. Now, I've told you about my losses. Who are yours? Who is it in your life that was once important to you or was unimportant to you that isn't there anymore? Is there several people? You have to think about it and handle those memories in a deliberate way. Honor those personal influences in your life by always remembering it, whether it's painful or not. Some memories are painful in the sense that they make us feel sad, angry, or even guilty, just like we've discussed in other episodes of GTU. Sometimes memories are living nightmares, while other memories fill us with joy and a deep laugh or a frank smile that you can never replace. A little of both extremes are a reality that make up our memories for most people. For some, the tendency in dealing with a loved one's death is to focus on the good and only the good. The result is that we turn the human being into a faultless saint. The person then is not remembered for who they were, but who we want them to be and who we want them to live on as eternally. However, if we want to be faithful to our friends and our loved ones, we need to remember them as we actually knew them. That includes the faults, that includes their perfections and imperfections that made them perfect to us. There's a great benefit in taking time to sit and remember the good and the bad experiences, as well as the strengths and weaknesses of those that we have lost. Other people that knew them can give us different and broader perspectives. Listen to other people. Beyond the cliches and the required statements, you will often catch moments of great good done by someone that you knew. This is the importance of stories during times of grief. This is the importance of listening to people in times of grief. Instead of hearing that he or she was a really caring person, we'd rather hear about a vivid moment when someone felt deeply cared for by our loved one. As we truthfully examine our memories of someone, we will admit that there are things that we miss and things that we don't miss. My grandma smoked, and I really don't miss that, but I do miss the calls that I got from her and the sound of the care in her voice, how excited she was to talk to me every time she could. Continually recognizing that our memories can only be about the past will assist us in putting loved ones in a new place. Our memories of them are very present to us, but they themselves are no longer physically present, no matter how much we wish that they were. None of this means that we forget them, because it's quite the opposite, to be honest with you. We remember all of them, their flaws and their strengths, and that's what makes them perfect to us, and that's really all that matters. The pain that you feel is telling you to feel it. Pain wants you to feel it, and pain wants you to grow from it. It's there to help you by hurting you. There's a quote in the U.S. Marine Corps that they seem to live by that says, "Pain is weakness leaving the body." And I completely disagree with that, to be honest with you. Pain is strength building inside the body. No matter who you've lost or whatever the source of grief is, the pain that you feel is building you into who you're meant to become. As we stated in the first video, it's essential to grow from your grief and from the losses that you encounter in your life. They're what make you who you are. And you should always, always, always take pride in the person that you are and what has built you to make you, you. Because there's only one of you. And no matter if you have grief, if you don't have grief, if you have losses, if you don't have losses, everything in your life makes you into the person that you're meant to become. Accept the pain, accept the grief, accept the loss, and grow from it. Now let's talk a little bit about grieving teens and how to find or join these support groups. First, what is a grief support group? A group consists of about 3 to 12 students that meet to listen and discuss each individual's journey in loss and grief. The groups meet from 30 minutes to an hour, about once a week, and they share their emotions, their experiences, and their circumstances having to do with both primary and secondary losses and how they're moving through their lives. These groups are open at all times and gain new members through referrals from friends, teachers, counselors, and in my case, coaches. New people change groups for the better in most cases, and because they tend to revitalize and refocus everyone back to their own original grief. It is necessary to have a culture of respect. The leader sets the attitude by his or her respect expressed to every attending student. The example set by the grief coach determines the accepted type of interaction during each session. The purpose of these grief support groups is to deal with the emotional, social, physical, and spiritual aspects of grief. The main prompters of discussion are commitment to trust and promise of respect that each member makes before we begin. In each group, there are also ground rules. The first one being, members of the group are expected to always be on time. It's also a good life lesson. 2, it's kind of like Vegas in there. What's said in the group stays in the group. There's no exceptions. This is a safe space. 3, everyone gets equal time to talk. There's not one person monopolizing everything. The 4th one is people are free to share what they want and when they are ready to share. No one's forced to say anything. And the last one is the role of a group member is not to give advice. It's just to listen. The leadership in these groups is real, but it's passive enough to allow students to feel comfortable, and it really is more of a facilitation or coaching than leadership in the directive sense. The group dynamics are actually pretty cool as well. Students usually want to feel inclusion, to feel like they're a part of the group and that they want to fit in, that they fit into this group dynamic. Morris has learned that they need to feel like they are an important member of the group. They need to feel cared for by the group, and this occurs when they start to share and they feel supported and they feel respected or even cared for by some of the peers and some of the students that they're with. In the group, a young person is confronted with reality concerning the way that they are dealing with their emotions, their social issues, physical effects, and spiritual ramifications. In the last several years, Morris has seen that young people all have different needs and need to be in these groups for different lengths of time. He's seen some attend for a couple weeks and then be okay. But for the vast majority, they will need to attend for several months, and some attend for several years. For more information on grief groups and grieving teens, please visit the website or contact Dr. Morris directly. Brought to you by the HN and Francis C. Berger Foundation and Bighorn Golf Club Charities.